me too, but see, because Perez and Reggie was good friends, and Perez and Sharita and Reg is great friends, and so all those three together was trying to plot.
Did you just say that the police were involved?
1,000%. Quickie cops, off-duty cops. I ain't never knew Rampart police. I ain't never knew none of those dudes. They all knew those dudes. I ain't never met with none of those dudes, been cool with them, nothing like that.
Reggie Wright Jr. was clearly at the middle of the entire orchestration of the assassination, to be sure. However, one must look at the other elements that would have been involved. Reggie Wright Jr. was a former Compton police officer. His record as a police officer was short and unremarkable.
Reggie Wright used to work for Compton PD.
We also know that Wright had the off-duty police departments of Los Angeles, Compton, and Las Vegas at his disposal. If this seems to be a lot of responsibility and power, consider the fact that Wright was in charge of security for death row's most valuable asset at the time. Shakur was killed while Wright was in charge.
Another opinion about Keefe D even being on trial, being offered by The Game, who says that he's a scapegoat.
He says everybody in Compton who's connected knows who killed Tupac Shakur, but they're not saying. Is that accurate, that whoever it is, that's going around?
No, it's not accurate. No, it's not accurate at all, because everybody's up there lying. Number one, Keefe D says that I met with his attorney and Reggie Sr. to give his nephew some bread. I was in the county jail. That's all you got to do is check the time and see where I was at.
Sure, Sergeant Reynolds, little Reggie keep on saying it was him, but it wasn't him. I know you from your daddy, dude. That was your daddy. Showed up at the what's the name? Showed up at the office, gave us $60,000.
But the crazy thing about this, everybody using this as a way to be like, look at me, look at me. I ain't doing this to say, look at me, look at me. I'm doing this saying, hey, that's my homie, and his life wasn't no motherfucking circus, and his life wasn't about people just talking to be talking. And Keefe D and them attorneys was like, hey, we'll give you a half a ticket. We'll give you $1 million. They talked to this person that worked for Puffy. They talked to this person who works with them. All the lawyers getting together. And I told them, look, my loyalty and love for Tupac can't be compromised for nobody.
Wait, hey, Suge, wait, you're saying that they offered you $1 million to do what?
To say that he wasn't there, he wasn't in the car, and all this other
Wait a minute, he who?
That
Keefe D.
But I thought the whole argument was that Keefe D was not necessarily there even, but that he orchestrated it.
But they sent the attorney to talk to me, pull me out in this prison right here. It was like, hey, we got a half a ticket, $1 million. That's all you got to say, he wasn't there, right? I said, oh, I ain't saying shit. But at the same time, my loyalty and love for Tupac can't be compromised.
It almost sounds to me like what you're saying is Keefe D didn't do what prosecutors say, that it was orchestrated by somebody else. And therefore, what would Keefe D's involvement be if somebody else was orchestrating this?
It was definitely more than one person involved. Everybody got their hands in it, and the people who got their hands in it is trying to muddy the waters. And only person that's slow is Keefe D.
I just did it for the money, you know what I'm saying? I was trying to feed my family, you know what I'm saying? And it's wrong. It's just wrong. I'm an innocent man.
So it's sort of sad for him, you know, that I'm not saying that he's guilty or innocent. That man is on trial fighting for his life. And it's sad the fact that the police who was involved did what they were supposed to do for the other people, and they did.
Did you just say that the
police were involved?
1,000%. Quickie cops, off-duty cops. I ain't never knew Rampart police. I ain't never knew none of those dudes. They all knew those dudes. I ain't never met with none of those dudes, been cool with them, nothing like that. And then when Keefe D said that I bought him a police car, I ain't never bought the police shit. But when I said the most important thing about all this You got lawyers involved. You got a female lawyer who dates Snoop, who dates Keefy D's son, who dates Puffy best friend. So all this is in the same mix. And so everybody using everything they do to help each other out. Game got Eazy on him. Game got Nipsey on him. Game don't have no Tupac on him. Game ally is Puffy. That's who he bought the Lamborghini for. You know, all this other shit, I ain't feeling none of that. It's starting to get to the point where it's getting real disrespectful.
Did you just say that the
police were involved?
1,000%.
We also know that Wright had the off-duty police departments of Los Angeles, Compton, and Las Vegas at his disposal. If this seems to be a lot of responsibility and power, consider the fact that Wright was in charge of security for death row's most valuable asset at the time. Shakur was killed while Wright was in charge.
Well, some of the things do need to get back to them. You know what I'm saying? Because they feel uncomfortable calling you. Even Turner does. But, so, like I told Reggie, I said, hey, I'm going to call Frank and tell him, oh, yeah, we don't mind. Go ahead and tell him. The best thing to do is not get subpoenaed. I said, well, hey, I think it's a little fucked up because he heard a real big rumor today. I said, and the big rumor is that somebody's going to try to kill him. Nah. Then he starts stuttering, you know, and acting all funny. I said, well, why are you acting so funny? Well, you know, I'm not going to be the one. I go, Reggie, what does that mean? Well, it's out of my control. That's what he was saying. It's out of his hands. It's out of his hands.
They saw the first one, they would saw the second one. Because it's the same people, same circle of people.
I've been on a street situation when we were police officers with Reggie. I mean, looking for armed suspects. I mean, and he's never been this nervous before.
This is a lie that I told back in the day. I told Frank Alexander to say that when they got out of the taxi club, when they arrived to the MGM, that Orlando Anderson was the guy who attempted to take his chain off his neck. And Frank went along with that and told the Vegas PD that initially. Now, he eventually retracted once, you know, the bitch came out of him.
Trevon whispered into Tupac's ear right after we walked out of the Mike Tyson fight. And Pac took off running. I took off running behind him. The rest of the entourage ran behind us.
Maybe that was a setup. I mean, he was standing there waiting and waiting for somebody. And then Tupac shows up and they start exchanging words with his entourage and everybody else, and they start stomping.
Now, I never knew who Orlando Anderson was. It's just like kind of, you know, funny, ironic, whatever you want to call it, that from April to September, why would Reggie have told me about Trevon getting into this fight at the Foot Locker in Lakewood Mall with Orlando Anderson? And then here we are, you know, a few months later, Pac gets into the same fight with Orlando Anderson at the MGM, and then everything just went from there.
Yeah, Orlando Anderson looks a little staged. It looks a little planned out. It all looks as if they were trying to find a killer they could point out afterward.
Knight entrusted the protection of the artist to former and current police officers and fire department officials. Of course, not all of the police hired by Reggie Wright were model citizens. The arrests of David Mack and Rafael Perez showed a new level of corruption in the LA Police Department. and both were on death row's payroll.
The fact that Reggie Wright Sr. and Reggie Wright Jr. are involved in this case, in my mind at least, creates a classic conflict of interest. And it's something that anyone looking at this case, I think, should be aware of.
Detective Tim Brennan of the Compton Police Department was the first to bring Orlando Anderson's name to the front of the assassination. This affidavit, in support of a search warrant, specifies that Anderson was the likely shooter of Shakur. The shooting was in retaliation for the beating of Anderson at the MGM earlier that evening. Anderson's beating was, in turn, alleged payback for the Lakewood Mall fight that Reggie Wright told Alexander about some time earlier.
He repeatedly denies to you knowing who killed Tupac Shakur.
Yeah, he said they didn't have any knowledge of what happened, that they weren't involved. He did later speculate that maybe it was some Compton police officers that were working for Suge Knight, and that maybe it was because he had heard that Tupac was talking about possibly leaving Death Row Records or something to that effect. But
his suggestion was that perhaps Knight, who's driving the car, had Compton police officers shoot Tupac in the car Suge's driving.
Yes, something to that effect. Yeah, he said that back in 93, 94, Zip introduced Davis to Notorious B.I.G. at Summer Jam concert, and Davis would associate with Notorious B.I.G. when he was in L.A. area, but they never had any like drug connections or anything like that.
He tells you that he was actually at the Peterson Automotive Museum the night Mr. Wallace was killed.
That's correct, yes.
And that he saw some, at least people associated with Death Row Records at that location.
Yeah, he told us that prior to that, the night of the murder, Davis observed some females associated with Death Row Records at the party. He said, well, like Jewel, a singer, LaShelle, a comedian for Death Row, and Davis believes that they saw Mr. Wallace at the event, then called Blood gang members to come. Davis did say he observed Reggie Wright Jr. and DJ Quick, who was a performer for Death Row, Theo, a local disc jockey, and about 10 or 11 other Treetop, Fruitown Blood gang members arrived at the event. Davis told Mr. Wallace that they were to watch, that they were there and they should watch out. And then shortly thereafter, Mr. Wallace was shot. But Davis wasn't there; he didn't see who actually shot him.
But once again, he tells you that he believes that Reggie Wright Jr. and Blood gang members are the people that killed Mr. Wallace.
Yes, he said he believed that Reggie Wright Jr. and the Blood gang members associated with him were the ones responsible for killing Notorious B.I.G. When asked who the individual was who actually killed him, based off of there was a composite drawing that was that had been provided and was kind of passed around, so we showed him that. Davis responded that the composite looked just like Reggie Wright Jr.
What are your thoughts when people try to associate you with Biggie, the murder of Biggie, and saying that you set that up with cop friends or something like that?
I don't give a fuck. Prove it. Can't be proven because it ain't true. But I don't give a fuck about that. I didn't know Biggie Small. It doesn't bother me for my name being mentioned with anything negativity to do with Biggie Small. I didn't know Biggie Small until I got to learn a little bit about Biggie Small through his mother in real life and becoming older. I didn't even give a fuck about the death of Biggie Small until I got a little older. Got to see the hurt that his mother experienced. Is when my feelings changed towards that.
Detective Clifford Mogg told the grand jury last month investigators from both Las Vegas and Los Angeles believe the same people were involved in both killings. Mogg said they all agreed the Biggie murder came in retaliation for the Tupac hit. The rappers were signed to rival record companies at the height of the East-West gang war. Mogg says detectives also agreed Dwayne Keefe D. Davis, who's currently in custody for the Tupac killing, did not play a role in the hit on Biggie.
I honestly believe that the players that we're talking about, David Mack and Amir Muhammad, are somehow involved in this case. And the department, time and time again, has avoided the truth. And when you add everything up, what other reason could there be? The reason being is because they do not want to expose to the public that Los Angeles police officers were involved in the conspiracy to kill Biggie Smalls.
Who do you think personally killed Biggie? Poochie. Why?
Let's believe Poochie did.
Poochie. Did you know Poochie personally?
I knew Poochie. I arrested Poochie before. Arrested him with a bunch of cocaine and an assault weapon.
We made up the rule. If you want to be my informant, I got dope on you or I got a gun on you. You're going to work for me, I'm going to put it on you.
And there's a car. That was probably in about 90. Before I started working with Death Row, so it was probably like 94. Early part of 94, because I started working with Death Row at the end of 94.
Just tell me a little bit about Poochie, man. You know, he was a gang member, right?
Poochie was originally from Kentucky. I didn't know him until he wasn't one of the ones that grew up in the sandbox with us. I don't think he came around till he was like 16, 17, 18 years old. So by then I'm over there with Suge, Linwood boys, we playing football and stuff. So we didn't, you know, most of the guys that I knew from the mob in Lewis Park area, it's because we went to elementary school together. Well, Suge and I actually went to a Linwood Unified School District, junior high and high school.
Poole says he uncovered dirty cops while investigating the murders of rappers Biggie Smalls and Tupac Shakur.
Compton police claim to have identified this Cadillac as the shooter's vehicle. It was a rental car, the only white Cadillac rented in Los Angeles that weekend. Las Vegas police claimed they never received that information.
Now, the conclusion recently, within the last week or two, the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, the FBI released a 349-page document saying that in their findings that Suge Knight and Reggie Wright orchestrated and put a hit on both of them.
So, yes, what about the Biggie case?
I believe Biggie was not murdered by Poochie, Darnell Faust. He was murdered by 3 rogue LAPD cops from the Rampart scandal and one other gentleman. I can name the names on this one.
Do it.
Amir Muhammad, Harry Billups, I believe, is the trigger man that killed Biggie Smalls. And I believe Rafael Perez and David Mack and Nino Durden were also involved in the conspiracy to kill Biggie Smalls.
Why? What's the motive?
It's a revenge kill for Tupac. Suge was in jail. I don't point at Suge at all.
Right.
These are the Crips, the Bloods, Mob Pirus. And I think once Tupac was killed, they knew they were either going to get Puffy or Biggie.
Yeah. And there was but only one person shot though. It was a gun from a 9mm, right?
Correct.
So
just one shooter.
Was there other people in the car? Do you think?
They were outside protecting their cops. They could flash badges, stop traffic, anything in the getaway. They're the scouts.
Right. They're the lookouts.
They're basically your LAPD. They're active police officers.
Were they at the scene? Can they pin them at the scene?
Oh, witnesses pin Rafael Perez and David Mack there.
And they were part of a corrupt police battalion, part of the Rampart scandal from the 90s, where a lot of them had deep gang ties too. And so you're saying they were Piru Bloods.
They grew up with the Mob Pirus. They grew up with Suge. They grew up with Reggie Wright.
How do you tie that in?
So all of them together, David Mack, Rafael Perez, Nino Durden, and the other name we won't say today. David Mack grew up with Suge Knight. He is from Compton. He's from his neighborhood. All these guys knew each other, okay? Reggie Wright tries to say he didn't know David Mack. I don't believe him, okay? He says that multiple times. That's not true. They are tied to the rap world as bodyguards, off-duty police officers. They are dealing cocaine. They are robbing banks. They are murdering people. So why is it so far-fetched to think, well, how do these guys get mixed up with the biggest rap label in the world that's stationed right down the street? Look, Suge was a genius, okay? He was. This guy ran this whole show. And he had his own DA, Larry Longo.
Some 70 hours after his sudden death by gunfire, rapper Notorious B.I.G.'s murder remains a mystery to the 20 detectives pursuing his killer. No arrests, no clear motive, and still no composite sketch of the gunman who pumped a hail of deadly bullets into Notorious B.I.G.'s Suburban, then sped off into the night. Police now only describe the shooter as a black male, driving a dark, full-size car. Not much to go on there, but tonight cops say they do have other leads. Among them, videotape recorded by a bank's ATM surveillance camera, video shot near the crime scene before, during, and after B.I.G.'s murder. Cops won't say what, if anything, they've discovered, and they're still interviewing some 200 witnesses. This week, there's an eerie sight on national newsstands. It's the Notorious B.I.G. puffing on a cigar and wearing shades, staring out from the cover of The Source magazine, the rap industry's leading publication. Inside, in one of his last interviews, the Notorious B.I.G. looks at his sometimes violent past and discusses his future. And also in the article, Notorious B.I.G. dismisses as a joke talk of an East Coast-West Coast rap feud. He blames the media for creating a story where there was none. Quote, "The situation has just been blown up to much more than what it was. They done made a personal beef between me and Tupac and Death Row into a coast beef. East against West, and that's crazy. That's bananas." But despite such statements, a bi-coastal rap war is also something police refuse to rule out as a possible motive in the Notorious B.I.G.'s violent death.
The statement given by Michael Robinson in 1997 would form the foundation for Russell Poole's entire theory that LAPD officer David Mack had conspired with a friend named Amir Muhammad to kill Biggie.
The most amazing thing in this whole story is that Officer David Mack and Officer Rafael Perez have never been questioned in connection with the Biggie Smalls murder. Neither has Harry Billups, aka Amor Mohammed, who we tried to contact through his lawyer.
The LAPD deals with another scandal. Jeffrey Kay of KCET Los Angeles reports.
In one court hearing after another, prosecutors have made a series of stunning admissions about corruption in the Los Angeles Police Department.
We have reason to believe that Officer Nino Durden testified falsely about the alleged narcotics transactions and that he witnessed and may have planted rock cocaine on this defendant.
Based upon our review, we are no longer convinced as to the legitimacy of the conviction, and as such,
prosecutors are filing motions to free prisoners and overturn convictions, telling judges that in the mid to late 90s, an unknown number of LA officers lied, planted evidence, and framed suspects. The most dramatic case to come to light is that of Javier Francisco Ovando. He spent nearly 3 years in prison before prosecutors discovered he'd been framed. In 1996, while inside this apartment building, Rafael Perez and his partner shot Ovando in the head and chest. At the time, the officers said Ovando came at them with a gun. Perez has since admitted Ovando was unarmed and that he and his partner, Nino Durden, planted a gun on Ovando after they shot him.
Why do you think the police shot you?
I don't know.
Had you seen Perez Durden before?
One day before.
And what happened?
The next day, they shot him.
Scandal now tearing at the criminal justice system was launched by the confessions of a former cop, Rafael Perez. Charged with stealing and selling 8 pounds of cocaine in 1998, Perez has implicated himself and other officers in order to reduce a possible 14-year sentence.
That omerta was violated in your unit by a gentleman named Rafael Perez in 1998. He starts spilling the tea about the unit, and he mentions you specifically as being a troublemaker, a guy they should look at.
Keep your eyes on me, yeah.
Keep your eyes on you. When you got word Perez was flipping, what did all your crash unit, did you guys meet up at the bar and go, were you guys thinking about knocking him off?
I mean, everybody was talking about taking him out. They wanted to take him out. They were pissed off because he exposed people, but he didn't have dirt on everybody. He had dirt on his own partner, who was Dirty Nino, who he did some dirt with. But he knew that everybody was doing their dirt, but he wasn't hands-on watching them, and he didn't have a case with everybody. But he knew we were all guilty of something, but he couldn't prove a lot of stuff. But everybody was so mad because he exposed the unit for what it was trained to do. It was created for that. So now he's exposed. Everybody wants to hurt him. I want to take him out too. Everybody did.
So I don't really know. I don't know how damaging or how helpful you could be. That's why we're trying to find out if you can be helpful or if you're damaged. You know what, Reggie? I gave a statement to Metro. Listen
listen to what I'm saying. I gave a statement to Metro based on what you and Suge asked me to do that night I went to the meeting at Suge's house, okay, about the chain getting snatched. Now, I've already said that. Now, to go in there and then say something different than that, that's going to jeopardize a lot. You know, that's perjury there. Okay, this stuff is already on record. I don't know what the FBI is talking, have they talked to Metro about this? Metro don't talk to the FBI about it. They're watching the whole thing. But for me to go get on a witness stand and then just be put out like that, well, that's what's wrong. You saying you already gave a statement? Yeah, I gave the statement to Metro already, Reggie. So why can't you give that same statement? To David Killer. That's all I'm asking you to do. Is tell them what you told them.
Suge Knight finally doubled down on some suspected suspects and shined the light back on them crooked cops. But the issue with that is they linked those crook cops to Suge Knight in the past as his people. That's really a topic of discussion. But I will say, I think anyone connected to Death Row Records would have been seen as Suge Knight people, even if they were security hired by Reggie Wright Jr. I'm not going to act like I haven't seen Phil Carson saying Reggie was giving up bad info to the FBI about Suge Knight and about who shot Tupac. Phil said Reggie had a motive, and it was to take over Death Row Records. I believe it was a plot against Suge Knight. He said them crooked cops tried to take him out too. To be honest, other than Reggie Wright, I don't know if Suge was hiring cops. I heard countless stories of the guys he had around like Buntree, Heron, and George. I think those were the guys Suge used as muscle. It only makes sense that the cops would be connected to the cop Wright. Suge been hinting at Reggie for years and even said he should have never been running Death Row. And that's the ultimate contradiction at the heart of the whole Death Row era. You got Suge Knight pointing fingers at the badge-wearing element. But the lines were so blurred nobody even knows where the street ended and the department began. When you look at guys like Buntree, Heron, and George, they operated like the street-level infrastructure for the label handling, the heavy-handed enforcement and keeping things locked down on the block. But then you had Reggie Wright Jr. sitting right in the middle of it as an ex-Compton police officer and running the security firm that was supposed to protect the artists. That's why investigators like Phil Carson leaning into the narrative about Reggie having a hidden agenda and feeding bad information or maneuvering to take over the keys to the kingdom adds a whole different layer to the chaos if the street muscle was answering to Suge. But the security chief was tied into law enforcement structures that allegedly had their own playbook. It wasn't just a record label anymore. It was a pressure cooker waiting to blow. Suge Knight keeping Reggie around for as long as he did, only to turn around years later and say he regrets ever letting him run the ship, shows just how messy those internal entanglements really were. Let me know what y'all thinking in the comments. Who y'all think hired the dirty cops?
TV.